What's up, guys? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. I finally got rid of that crate. And yes, I did go through it. That crate is no longer just a mess. Each time I clean up my place, I get better at organizing and get better at putting things away. And I think this time I might have it beat. Anyway, on my weight, for anybody that's wondering, I stayed steady, 151.4, which I'm thankful for because I haven't been able to be the most on top of it with diet. I have been able to go to the gym a fair amount, but not as much as I'd actually like to. So that's kind of, well, I'm not going to act like I'm upset about that. Really, I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing when I need to be doing it. So I'll focus on that more a little later as far as me personally, but right now I'm very happy with where things are. I've been waking up early in the morning, so that's been good. 7:30 seems to be where I'm landing most recently, and I'm getting more and more used to actually being able to stay up, because if you're used to being awake certain hours, I find that you start to drag at a certain time, and now I'm beginning to lose some of that. So that's been really good. Anyway, this morning I woke up to Facebook, a Facebook post that said that a comedian, Steve McGrew, who is well known for being right-wing, not necessarily a right-wing comedian, because as far as on stage, he doesn't really do a lot about politics, or doesn't do any about politics, maybe. And he's, I met Steve McGrew a long time ago, and I gotta admit, just right off the bat, I really do like Steve McGrew. So there's that. And I don't mind that he's very open about his political leanings. Anybody that knows me knows I don't make a secret of the fact that I voted for Donald Trump. I know that bothers some people. I have my reasons. One day, like I say, we'll get into it. But right now, that's not really the focus of where I am, not only in comedy, but personally. And when people ask me if I agree with everything Donald Trump has said and done, no, but I don't agree with everything anybody has said and done. Like, that's a lot to ask of anybody, to be like, oh, well, do you support? I voted for Obama 2 different times, and I can honestly say I didn't agree with everything he said and did either. There was a point when Obama himself said that marriage is between a man and a woman, and I knew that my LGBTQ brethren wouldn't agree with that. And me personally, I have my own feelings on marriage as well, but that's not to say that I was against gay marriage. I just have my own feelings on it. So when Obama said that, I was like, yeah, I can kind of see what he's saying. But then later on, he flipped the script and he said his thinking had evolved, and Hillary Clinton said the same thing, and then her thinking evolved. And I don't really get on people for changing their minds at different points. I think new information will always, or should always, give you new perspective, even if you still stay thinking the way that you were thinking. Sometimes new information, you're just like, all right, well, I hadn't considered that. But anyway, Steve McGrew had not, I'm not going to say supposedly, because I've already seen it several places. There was an article about it, and Steve McGrew sent me a message about it. What happened was Steve McGrew had some dates booked at the Brad Garrett Comedy Club in Las Vegas. Brad Garrett ended up canceling his dates and letting him know that he would no longer be working for the club, and that's where it's at. And so somebody posted that on Facebook. Michael Schwartz, who's actually a photographer that a lot of us know from the Ice House Comedy Club in Pasadena, good friend of the comedy community, and really a part of the comedy community. He's been doing pictures for us for so long. I have a couple Michael Schwartz pics myself, and I really do like the guy. But he had, posted about Steve losing his spots at the Brad Garrett Comedy Club. Some people say there's more to it. Steve McGrew sent me a personal message and said that that was the long and the short of it, that he's been canceled because he does not because he supports Donald Trump. And my thing on that is I like the way Steve came at it when he sent me the private message, because he didn't say anything bad about Brad Garrett at all. And he didn't say anything, woe is me. He just was like, this is what it was. And then I read the article that was attached to it. I'll put that down in the links. It's from a site called Hollywood Toto, who I spoke with before, and they were really cool with me. The guy, I forget his name, no disrespect. I do appreciate you, though, for being willing to put the other side out there on certain things that are still Hollywood, but at the same time, a little more disconnected or from an opposite point of view. So I will say that Hollywood and Toto, I do really appreciate for being a voice for something different. That's what I'll say about them. But yeah, I'll include the link below. He doesn't say at any point that he is like feeling sorry for himself or it put him in a bad position financially, which it might have. I mean, like, I doubt after all the years, because Steve McGrew has been doing comedy for a long time. He's a well-established comedian. He was a radio personality in Denver for a long time, and he's a good enough guy that I'm sure he's going to land on his feet no matter what. And I doubt that this really, it probably just got on his nerves because he had it booked, and then he had to take that date off the, take that date off the calendar, or those dates off the calendar, and that's going to affect your money a little bit. So I'm sure there's that inconvenience, but he didn't make it seem like he was in dire straits or anything like that, which is always, it's like, if you're going to take unpopular positions, you got to accept that there's going to be some sort of kickback, and that's very unfortunate. But he does mention that there are several other right-leaning comedians that have hit him up and aren't willing to be open because they're afraid of the backlash, which is something I've addressed before. I have several friends that let me know that they actually were voting for Trump, or they supported Donald Trump, or they support Donald Trump's ideas. I have a lot of friends that have sent me that in private message, text message, Messenger, on Facebook, and I feel bad for them that that's something that they can't be open about, but at the same time, I understand why, and I know that there is somewhat of a backlash when you do that. There are people that are mad at me, or that were mad at me, but most people, because I've explained it so much, have gotten that my thinking just comes from a different place on that, and that's something that you have to respect, in the way that you can't hold me to the same standards that you hold other people to, or the same thinking that you hold other people to, when you consider my personal factors. I am gay, I am Latino, I look Asian. And yes, the look Asian part matters in the way that people perceive you, in the way that people direct their racism towards you. So I've got my own reasoning for doing things as a person of color, and even another person of color. I don't mind listening to you, I don't mind debating with you, I don't mind talking to you, but at the same time, I don't feel like I have to defend my position to you. I don't think it is up to you to decide for me whether or not I'm allowed to be LGBT now, or whether or not I'm allowed. You can't take my brown card. But I know that a lot of the people that I was dealing with, or the people that were open with me, were white cisgendered males. So when you're a white cisgendered male, you really do have to watch your step when it comes to offending the politically correct, because they will come at you in a different way, and that's just what it is. And it's unfortunate that that's where it is. And I got what Steve was saying, because what Steve McGrew said in the article was that when the ZZ Top guy got fired, at first he took the Brad Garrett thing in stride and didn't really make a big deal of it, because he didn't want to make any problems for Brad Garrett, because he does consider him a friend, and Brad Garrett had a movie coming out, so he didn't want to make a big deal out of that, which I respect Steve for doing that. But then he said when the ZZ Top guy that was on America's Got Talent, you can read it in the article, got fired for wearing a MAGA hat and Chick-fil-A and eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich. In a picture on Facebook, he got fired from his gig with ZZ Top. That's when Steve felt like he had to step up and say something, just because it got like, hey, this is bullshit. People are losing jobs just because of who they support politically. So I do understand him coming out in that way, and I don't personally know Brad Garrett, and I've never met Brad Garrett. I have some really good friends and people that I really respect that work for him regularly, so I can't say I have a bad idea of him, and I'm not going to let this reflect on my thinking. It's been my policy for a long time that until I've met you, until I've personally talked to you, I'm not going to have any feelings about you. And who knows, maybe Brad Garrett sees it in a completely different way than Steve does, in which case there is no liar and there is no bad guy, in my opinion. It's just two people that see things in completely different ways, and one happens to be in charge of the club. And sometimes when people think that you've gone a little bit too far as what it is you're saying on your social media, they will get like, okay, well, that's going to maybe drive some of my personal business away, and I know what my audience is like. I know what my audience goes for. So if I'm going to possibly hurt my club, then this could become a situation. It could have been like, this is going to hurt my bottom line, and so I need to cancel these dates or disassociate. Which, it's unfortunate that that's where we are. I'm hoping that we very soon get back to a place where people can disagree and not have there be a consequence. It's one thing that I'm not a fan of, no matter how I feel about anything. I'm just not a fan of the thinking of, I don't agree with what you said, now I completely take away your voice. I can get if you're saying that there's certain things that certain people wouldn't be good for anymore, but the fact that people think that once somebody says something they don't agree with, now they have no right to work, period, that's something that I'm not a fan of at all. But you guys can let me know where you're at on it. Like I said, I'm going to link the article below if you guys want to read the article and come back and comment then. Or if you want to let me know how you feel just from what I said, you can let me know. I'm sure some people, like I said, are going to have feelings about the fact that I personally voted for Trump. I like to be clear about that because I don't like people to come back later and be like, hey, you actually, like I said, we'll get into that one day. I don't have strong feelings on it right now. I do have to tell you that either way. So if you decide to come at me in the comments in a way where you want to debate me on Donald Trump or some of the stuff he said lately, that's not something I'm open to on this particular thread. But if you want to talk to me about the content of what I've been talking about, I'm 100% open to it. I'm always open to your guys' opinions. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I am Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.